Well, here's the big news everyone's talking about. South Bay's real estate market just had its biggest shift in over 5 years. Yep, for the first time in a long while, buyers are actually catching their breath. Bidding wars are simmering down, open houses aren't getting swamped like Coachella. Some homes are even sitting on the market for more than 2 weeks. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Wait, is that normal? And honestly, yeah, welcome back to a more balanced market. It's not 2021 anymore, where people were offering their firstborn child for a fixer-upper with no parking. So what's happening? The Fed's interest rate hikes have cooled things down. Sellers are adjusting their expectations, and buyers, well, they're coming back, slowly but surely. That mix of tension and opportunity is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Whether you're trying to buy, rent, invest, or just nosy about what your neighbor's home is worth, I've got all the info you need. In this video, we'll break things down segment by segment: current market conditions, neighborhood vibes, rental trends, future developments, climate factors, even juicy investment spots and mortgage hacks. Plus, I'll show you real data from local articles, so you don't have to take my word for it. If you're scrolling Zillow at midnight wondering if it's the right time to buy, well, you're not alone. I've been there, probably still there. So buckle in, grab your coffee, or let's be honest, your wine, and let's dive into what's really going on in South Bay, California. Current market snapshot. Let's start with a big picture look at what's going on in South Bay's real estate market. As of this spring, inventory is ticking up slightly, which is a breath of fresh air for buyers. We're seeing price stabilization. That's right, no more wild $300,000 over ask bidding frenzies mostly. Homes are still expensive, but we're not in absolute chaos anymore. The average home price in South Bay sits around $1.35 million, with some fluctuations depending on location. Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach are still at the top of the pricing food chain, no surprise there. But more buyers are now looking at places like Lomita and Lawndale for better deals without leaving the area. There's also a noticeable uptick in seller concessions. That means things like covering closing costs or even offering mortgage buydowns. This was unheard of 2 years ago. Now, it's becoming part of the negotiation again. And let's talk about days on market. A typical listing is sitting around 27 days now, which gives buyers time to actually think. Imagine that. Before making an offer, that doesn't mean you can sleep on a great deal. Want to check out the data for yourself? The Daily Breeze published a great breakdown of South Bay real estate stats for Q1 2025. Neighborhood breakdown. Alright, let's get local. South Bay isn't just one market. It's a mosaic of mini markets, each with its own vibe, price range, and personality. Let's do a quick drive-by virtually, of course, of the major areas. Manhattan Beach. Still the crown jewel. Think luxury homes, ocean views, and that small town meets rich uncle energy. The average home price around $3.2 million. It's not cheap, but it's prestige real estate. Hermosa Beach. A bit younger, funkier, and more laid back. Homes are still pricey, around $2 million on average, but there's a strong sense of community and lifestyle appeal here. Torrance. This is where the action's shifting. With more inventory, strong school districts, and proximity to freeways and jobs, Torrance is attracting buyers who want value without sacrificing location. El Segundo. Techies and aerospace professionals, this one's for you. Close to lax and home to big names like Raytheon and Boeing, El Segundo is booming in both residential and commercial development. Lomita and Lawndale. The underrated champs, prices here are much more accessible. Think $800,000 to $1 million, and they offer a great entry point for first-time buyers or investors. There's a great interactive map from Redfin showing price per square foot by zip code in South Bay. It's a fun way to explore. Rental market trends. Alright, not everyone's out here buying homes. Some folks just need a solid place to rent that won't cost them their entire paycheck. The rental market in South Bay is doing its own thing right now, and honestly, it's competitive. Rents have gone up about 5% year over year across the board. Hermosa and Manhattan Beach, no surprise, top the charts with one-bedroom apartments going for around $3,000. But even in places like Lawndale or Gardena, the rise is real. A two-bedroom in Torrance is now averaging $2,800. There's high demand from young professionals and remote workers who want to stay close to LA but prefer the beachy lifestyle. This demand is especially strong for luxury rentals, with new developments like the Strand in El Segundo and Park on Delamo in Torrance offering high-end units with amenities like co-working lounges, pools, and dog spas. Yep, dog spas. And get this, landlords are tightening up screening. Stronger credit requirements, higher deposits, and strict income verification are back on the table. So if you're renting, you better have your financial ducks in a row. Don't believe me? Here's a recent article from The Real Deal talking about rent hikes and new luxury apartments in South Bay, new developments and future projects. This one's exciting. The future of South Bay real estate isn't just about what's already built, but what's coming down the pipeline. And spoiler, there's a lot coming. Let's start with San Pedro. The West Harbor redevelopment is moving fast. This $500 million waterfront project is turning the old Port's Oakall Village into a shopping, dining, and residential hub. Think of it like Santa Monica Pier meets foodie heaven. Meanwhile, El Segundo is attracting tech and aerospace investment, which is bringing in new housing developments to keep up with demand. And Torrance, city planners are eyeing former industrial lots for mixed-use communities that combine retail, living space, and green areas. Then there's the question of transit-oriented development. The Metro C Line extension is making it easier for folks in Redondo and Lawndale to get to lax in downtown LA, which developers are jumping on. New multi-unit builds are popping up near transit corridors to appeal to younger, car-free renters and buyers. Want the full details? The Los Angeles Business Journal just did a deep dive on South Bay development trends. It's worth a read. Mortgage and interest rate watch. Let's talk about mortgages, because if you're planning to buy a home, your interest rate is basically the boss of your budget. In early 2025, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate in California is hovering around 6.5%. Not terrible, but not the 3% golden days we saw in 2021 either. But here's the catch. Many lenders are now offering rate buydowns and adjustable rate options to help you stay within budget. More and more buyers are using 2-to-1 buydowns, where your interest rate starts low and gradually rises after 2 years. It's a way to ease into payments while waiting for rates to drop again. Also, if you're self-employed or have a less than perfect credit score, some non-QM lenders that's non-qualified mortgage for the curious are making a comeback with flexible loan options. Just read the fine print. Always. There's a great breakdown by Bankrate that shows how mortgage changes are affecting South Bay buyers in real time. Climate and environmental factors. Okay, this is the part no one wants to talk about, but we need to. Let's talk climate change and environmental risks in South Bay. First off, yes, sea level rise is a real concern, especially in low-lying coastal areas like Redondo Beach and parts of El Segundo. According to the California Coastal Commission, we could see up to 1.5 feet of sea level rise by 2050, which might not sound like a lot, but it's enough to impact insurance rates, building codes, and property values. Speaking of insurance, in the last 12 months, we've seen statewide insurers pull back on policies in fire and flood zones. Some homeowners are paying up to 30% more for coverage compared to last year. And if your property falls within a FEMA flood zone, expect even higher premiums. Another issue flying under the radar is soil contamination, particularly near industrial areas in Torrance, Carson, and parts of Gardena. Buyers are starting to request environmental disclosures more frequently, especially when purchasing older properties. But here's the good news: cities are acting. Manhattan Beach just passed a law requiring green infrastructure on all new developments, rainwater gardens, solar, the whole eco-kit. And several towns have launched shoreline resiliency plans to prep for rising tides. If you're curious or concerned, check out this report from California Climate News on South Bay's environmental risks. Investment opportunities. Let's shift gears. If you're watching this as an investor, you're probably wondering, is South Bay still a smart play in 2025? Short answer, yes if you're strategic. Neighborhoods like Lomita, Hawthorne, and North Redondo are currently seeing the highest ROI for investors. Why? They're close to job centers, still somewhat affordable, and bonus, they're being targeted for upcoming infrastructure upgrades. Multifamily properties are in huge demand right now, especially duplexes and triplexes near transit lines. With rental demand strong and inventory low, landlords are seeing stable cash flow and appreciation. A triplex in Lawndale that sold for $900,000 in 2021 is now valued at $1.2 million, not too shabby. Flippers, listen up. Torrance and Gardena have lots of older post-war homes that need love. Renovated properties are fetching solid premiums, especially if you add ADA's accessory dwelling units. The city is actively encouraging them to ease the housing crunch, and yes, those little backyard cottages can rake in $2,000 month easy. One big caution: stay away from oversaturated Airbnb zones. Cities like Manhattan Beach and Hermosa have strict short-term rental rules, and enforcement is stepping up. Make sure you're zoning compliant. Want more numbers? Roofstock released a 2025 investor spotlight on South Bay. It's gold. What smart buyers are doing in 2025? Let's get real for a second. The smartest buyers in 2025 aren't just jumping at listings, they're moving with strategy. Here's what they're doing differently this year. First, they're getting pre-approved early. No more, "Oh, we'll look and see what we can afford later." Nope. These buyers come to open houses with paperwork in hand and a lender on speed dial. Second, they're using local agents, not their cousin's friend from Hollywood. Why? Because hyper-local knowledge in South Bay is everything. An agent who knows the difference between East and West Torrance can literally save you 6 figures. Smart buyers are also house hacking, buying duplexes and living in one unit while renting the other. It's a way to build equity and offset mortgage costs, especially while rates are still high. Another trick, they're leveraging first-time homebuyer programs and city grants, many of which are underused. For example, the city of Carson still offers down payment assistance up to $75,000 for qualified buyers. Finally, they're patient. They know that timing isn't everything, but preparation is. They're tracking listings, watching rate dips, and getting their finances tight so they're ready to act fast, but smart. There's a great article from NerdWallet outlining beer strategies specific to Southern California in 2025. Insights, solutions, and recommendation. If you've stuck with me this long, give yourself a round of applause, or at least pour another cup of coffee. We've covered a ton: pricing trends, neighborhood breakdowns, rentals, development, mortgages, climate impact, investment moves, the whole real estate buffet, South Bay style. So what does it all mean? Here's the bottom line: South Bay, California is still one of the most desirable regions in Los Angeles County, but it's shifting. It's not just a playground for the ultra-rich anymore. With the market cooling slightly and new inventory coming online, there's actual opportunity, whether you're a beer, renter, or investor. But, and this is key, you've got to be strategic. If you're a beer, this is your window to enter the market without having to outbid 15 other people in a bidding war. Focus on properties that have been sitting a bit longer, and don't be afraid to negotiate. ask for credits, ask about mortgage buydowns. The power is finally starting to swing back your way. If you're an investor, keep your eyes on Torrance, Lawndale, and Carson. Look for value-add properties, explore ideas, and run those rent roll projections like your life depends on it. If you're waiting for a crash, well, hate to break it to you, but that ship probably sailed. This isn't 2008. Inventory is still low, equity is high, and demand isn't going anywhere. But corrections and opportunities, those are definitely on the table. And if you're just starting out overwhelmed, nervous, confused, hey, you don't have to do it all alone. Start with research, build your team, call up that friend who bought a house last year and ask them what surprised them most. Get pre-approved even if you're not ready yet. You'll learn a lot just by showing up. One last thing before I let you go. If you found this video helpful, you're going to love the one we did recently. It dives into the unexpected market twists that caught even seasoned agents off guard this year. Links in the description or at the end of this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so you don't miss our weekly South Bay deep dives, neighborhood spotlights, and interviews with local pros. This has been House Scout TV, your guide to real estate in the South Bay, without the stress, fluff, or sales pitch. Just the truth with maybe a little sass. Catch you in the next one.